Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me again at the table. Glad you came out tonight. I hope you're enjoying the summer so far. Happy Independence Day. Stay safe around those fireworks tomorrow. But thanks for joining me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So tonight I have a special interview lined up for you, a pre-recorded interview with some lady who is very near and dear to me. Traveled to see her this past weekend and spent some time talking to her here at the table. I really hope you enjoy it. It's a fascinating story about what God has done in someone else's life. But before then, I want to talk to you about a couple things coming up. First of all, just a reminder that on July 17th, we will have our kids' table. That will be at 7 p.m. live here at Belair First United Methodist Church. If you have a child that is 12 and under, a child, grandchild, niece, nephew, whomever, send them on out if you want to be a part of this. We're going to pack this table full of kids. I know some kids have already said they don't want to be on camera, but others do, and they have questions for me, kind of treating it like the children's message that I do in churches sometimes. Going to give the kids a chance to stump me. Guess that means I better have some candy bars on hand too. But before that, I just wanted to say, have them come on out, 12 and under, and we're also going to have a teen table sometime later on in the summer. July 17th is also going to be our mid-season finale. It'll be our 11th episode. Can't believe we started this back at the beginning of May, and we've really come a long way, all of us together. I really consider all of you who watch this to be part of this program as well, because without you, I wouldn't be spending time here doing this. But since so many of you have been interested and have been watching every week, I just feel like I got to keep going. Not that I want to stop, because I don't, because God is doing a wonderful thing here. But I just am so grateful for everybody who's supported me in this ministry. So if you would, please share this video, tell your friends about it. We're getting new requests for the group, Facebook group all the time. The word is getting out. And I'm going to keep on trying to find people to interview. We'll keep on having short little tidbits of Bible studies with you by myself. We're just going to keep going and see what God has in store for this program. But we will be taking a short break in the last couple weeks of July, maybe a couple weeks into August. But then we'll start over again, and we'll go for 11 more episodes that should take us right up to around Thanksgiving. And then we'll take another break over the holidays, and we'll start season 2 in January. And I don't know what season 2 will bring, but I'm pretty excited about it, and I hope you are too. Okay, well, that's all the announcements that I had for this evening. So with no further ado, we will just turn it over to Grandma Rambo and her interview. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm here in Ashtabula, Ohio, today interviewing Ruth Davis Rogers, a woman that I've known for 41 years. As I grew up in Ashtabula, Ohio, she was my neighbor, and my mom still lives right next door to her. And as I said, it's been 41 years that you've been neighbors with my mom. I came to visit, and I wanted to sit down with Ruth because she has an amazing story. She is 92 years old, 92 years young, and you probably couldn't tell. I know you're probably all saying, wow, right now. She looks great for her age, but with her age, she has been through quite a bit of experiences, and she wanted to share some of that with all of you tonight. So, Ruth, thanks for joining me at the table.
You're welcome.
And
it's a privilege.
It's a privilege and an honor to be able to interview you.
Thank you.
So I thought we might start out back when you worked at Reliance Electric.
Okay.
And just kind of tell a little bit about your life back then and what God was doing in your life and how he was working in you and protecting you and all that. So anything you want to say.
Okay. I started at Reliance Electric when I was 22 years old. I was a receptionist and tool buyer for 33 years, which I met a lot of people and had a lot of experiences, and I had the opportunity to share God and Jesus with an awful lot of people at that point. And I left there because of the economy. I was let go after that 33 years, and the following Monday I went to work at the Ashtabula Housing Authority. And this was just a real social shock to me. I had been dealing with mostly successful people, And to walk in and see the other side of the coin was really a bit of a shock. My very first interview, my first client was a young Korean woman who had married an American military man. And they had 2 children, and she was sleeping in her car. She had no place to go. And this just really shook me up. This was not something I had seen or actually was even aware was out there. I wanted to bring her home, and I have 3 bedrooms, and I wanted to bring her home and so she'd have a place to stay. But I was advised by my boss that you cannot take the job home with you, and I soon learned that. I've had some really good and bad experiences. One thing that, now this has been many years. I left the Housing Authority in '96, and maybe 3 years ago, a young lady came up the driveway at my neighbor's. We were having a garage sale, and she said, "Miss Davis, do you remember what you said to me? Or do you remember me?" And I said, "I don't remember your name, but I remember your face, and I apologize." And she said, "Do you remember what you said to me?" And I said, "Heavens no, it's been so long." And she said, "Something that you said to me has gotten me to where I am today and my children where they are." And she said, "Any time that things start getting rough, I always think of you and remember what you said to me." And we really never know what we say, how it's going to affect other people. And I always remember thoughts are things and words have wings. Some of the experiences I had at the Housing Authority, I recall that one day I was told that there was a vacancy, and it wasn't in a really very good area, but I went over early in the morning, and there were 2 guys laying on the floor sleeping. They weren't supposed to be there. And I asked them questions and asked them why we're there, and actually ordered them to leave. And I know God was with me, and my boss even told me that I walk around out there with a white light and a guardian angel, which I'm sure is true. Because I was never afraid. I just never was afraid. I think the only one time I went down to one of the projects, and this man was standing in the door, and he had a holster and a gun. And I just hit the pavement, went up the door, and went in, and he was sitting on the couch with his jacket on. And I said, "What do you have under that jacket?" And he said, "Nothing." And I said, "Well, you do. You have a gun." And he said something about, "Well, don't you know what goes on down here?" I said, "Well, I'd like to think I know what goes on down here since I'm the housing manager." And I turned around and walked out, and this, just when I think about it, boggles my mind, with him walking out behind me with a gun. And I went to my car, and I did have a 2-way radio to the police department, and so I called them right away. And later they called me and said, "Ruth, that was a .357 Magnum fully loaded." And I said, "Well, you told me more than I really wanted to know."
That's a pretty big gun. That would hurt.
That would hurt. I had so many good families, though. I'll have to tell about a young couple, and he had been working at a machine shop in Geneva, and he was laid off. Whatever happened, I think the shop closed, and they came to us, and we gave them housing, 3 little children. And when I figured up what their rent was going to be, we were going to be sending them a check. And they were just stunned. How could we possibly get a check for renting your apartment? And I explained it to them. Well, very shortly after that, they came in, and he said, "Miss Davis, I have found a job. How much will my rent be?" And I told him, and I said, "You can't afford to move out." And I think that is just really a crime, And about a month later, they came in and said they were moving out. And, a determination, where there's a will, there's a way. We had a family, a black family that had, I believe it was 6 children. And they schooled those children in their basement and every night had Bible study, etc., etc. And I know she told me one time, "We feel safe when you're here." Well, the husband got involved in a cult. And she did as well, and then she moved out shortly afterwards, and he ended up killing her, which was a sad situation because they were good people until they got into this cult. There's a lady that goes to my church, and she was one of my tenants, and I was really tough on her. She gave me some problems, and the other day she told somebody, I was standing there, and she told somebody, she said, I found Jesus because of Ruth. I have no idea what I said or what I did, none whatsoever.
Well, you planted a seed and God made it grow.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
And there have just been so many different ones. I had two guys that came in one day and they said, I don't know whether you know what we call you or not, but we call you Grandma Rambo.
Grandma Rambo.
And said you don't need to worry, said you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
Another occasion, my son was a deputy sheriff, and he was in booking, and these two guys were arrested. And they, as soon as they walked in the office, they said to my son, how's your mom, Corporal Davis? And he just kind of said, she's fine. And they told him, said, we don't like her. Said, we don't like her. But they continued on, and they said, she's not going to get hurt because she's not afraid of us. I had another time, had a young Hispanic girl with her children moved to Miami, and her boyfriend, that's another story, I got a call that he was living in the house. And I asked our inspector to go up with me, and he stood back about 20 feet away. And I went up and knocked on the door, and he came to the door. Can't think of his name right now. He came to the door with two other guys there with him. And I said, you know, you're not supposed to be here. And he said, I said, I'm going to give it till next Friday to get out, and that was on a Friday. No, I said, I'll give it till Wednesday to get out. And he said, well, we can't possibly get out until that soon. I said, okay, I'll give it till next Friday. And he didn't say too much, but the guys with him were muttering, and I knew they had guns, and they were dealing drugs. I knew that for a fact. And when I started to walk away, something was said about the housing authority anyway. Well, I just went right back up the steps, kind of with my hair standing on end. And I said, if you don't get back in that house and hush, you will be in jail before night because you're trespassing. And that's the end of the story. And I had so many things like that happened. But I've had people come to me afterwards and say to me, the housing authority is different since you're there. And I really wouldn't go back to work there if they offered me $100,000.
Well, it's been, 23 years since you've been there?
95.
Oh, 90, okay, so 24 years then.
Yeah.
24 years, wow. And so you wouldn't go back?
Oh, well, I wouldn't go back because when I started there, there were no drugs, there were no gangs, and I had a good rapport with the people in 82, and then the gangs and the drugs started coming in 85.
Okay.
And the local police kind of didn't acknowledge, they didn't think Ashtabula could, have drugs and gangs. But I can recall down on Alfred Avenue when, first of the month, the drugs would come in. There were cars there from Philadelphia, from Toronto, from here, from there. And I was standing down looking up in a window, and these guys were looking down at me, and I started to call the police. I had the two-way radio. But when they got back down, the car was gone. And these same guys that lived there told somebody after I left that they sure did miss me, even though they gave me trouble all the time.
So you left there in 95, okay? And that you said the drugs started coming in around 85. And now we're in 2019.
Yeah.
If you were to go back there right now, what do you think you would find?
Well, from what they tell me, it's just the drugs are rampant. There's just not much control.
Yeah.
When I was there, it was like, graffiti and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was about all the crime I had.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that I had a pretty good rapport with most of the people. So the good people, when all this started happening, were behind me all the way.
Yeah.
And there were some good people. Would
you say God took care of you during that time?
Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
I was on my way up to Bardmore one morning. I had a brand new Ford Escort. I think it had 50
Oh, I remember that
something
car.
miles. Yeah.
Yes.
And when I got to the light, which was in 3 blocks, the car stopped. It stalled. Now, this is a brand new car. Well, I found out later that a drug deal was going down, and the timing belt was what went on the car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say God took care of you then.
I'd say that God took care of me.
Wow, you could have stepped right into the middle of that. You're probably a lot more than a
Oh, yeah.
357 Magnum.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then this one other time, this guy, Damon, and he was driving a U-Haul truck. And I first heard about him, that he was dealing drugs, but he's driving that U-Haul truck around. Well, one day he was over at one of the projects, and his truck was there. And so I left a note on it that it had to be moved. Well, I was over there the next day to check on it, and he was fixing it, and he said, I'll be out of here by 4 o'clock. And I said, well, I'll give you till tomorrow because it's hard to get parts. Well, shortly after that, I was up at another project, and I saw them, and I kind of drove by and drove back by, and I went down to another unit, and here they come, and they pulled in back of me, and I really had nowhere to go. I thought maybe I had not done what I should have done.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they came out, and I couldn't see them because I was facing west.
Okay.
And I couldn't see him, and I thought, well, I've just got to be cool. And the one guy who I knew, and he said, Miss Davis, why are you following us? I said, because you're doing things that are illegal, that's why. And we talked, and then they went on their way, and that was fine.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Like one morning at 3 o'clock, the Cleveland police were out here, and they called me to come up and open the door up at Woodman, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
But there were so many good people, as I said. There were so many good people.
Yeah.
And they've. I have this one young lady that never, Betty Jackson, and she never should have been in public housing. And she's not in there anymore. And I saw her the other day. And so, Miss Davis, I would like to see you more often. They really appreciated what I did for them. But I didn't do this alone.
Yeah.
I didn't do this alone.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I said, my boss said to me, he said, the housing authority will never be the same when you're gone, Ruth. He said, you walk out there with that white light around you and guardian angels, and he said, it'll never be the same.
Yep.
The police told me that. The police told me, said in 6 weeks it won't be safe to walk down the street.
Wow.
Yeah, actually they did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think that Ashtabula can have a turnaround? I know it's a tough question.
I think that if they'd have got on it in the first place, that it might not have grown to the point it is. And I really don't know that they can. I really, really don't know that they can.
On their own, they certainly can't.
No.
But as you know, I live down in the Ohio Valley now, and the two churches that I've been involved with were both in Belair. And a lot of times I look at Belair and I think about Ashtabula because of the drug problem and the industry that has moved out. But we're starting to see some changes in Belair. And my friend Ian, I don't know if you had a chance to meet him. I don't think you did, because you didn't come down to the gazebo that one night.
No, I didn't.
Okay, but you'll get a chance. Ian's going to come up to Ashtabula with me sometime.
Good.
But Ian and I believe that God is making changes in Belair, and a revival is coming. And I really believe that it's not just going to stop in Belair. I believe it's happening all over the nation, actually.
Oh, I know it.
And I believe that Ashtabula may be on the docket for somewhere to be.
Well, I certainly hope so. And with God, all things are possible.
I do believe that too.
I absolutely
all things are
believe
possible. Well, I had a little note handed to me from my helper, my mom. She says, ask her what happened to Thursday to her car.
Thursday, I was on my way to the doctor, and something fell off the seat, and I bent down to pick it up, dumb. And I hit the curb very hard. And as I started to drive, the front right tire.
Okay.
And as I started to drive away, I thought, well, I'll just go on to the doctor's office. Well, my car, I knew I was getting a flat tire. Well, I got back home, and I called Dusty and Steve, and John said to me, Ruth, I think you better have it towed in. So the guy from AAA came, and he walked down the driveway, and the right rear car had a bubble on it. And he said, this tire is ready to blow.
Oh, wow.
And I just drove to Erie like 65, 70 miles an hour. Now,
Wow.
God really had to do something to get my attention about that.
He got your attention.
And I don't believe anything else on this earth except that.
Wow. That is amazing.
Now, that's amazing.
Yes.
Now, it is.
Wow. You know, sometimes we don't even look at the other side of the car. We just get in the driver's side, and if you don't have passengers,
No.
you don't think anything of it. But
No.
so you hit with the front, but
I hit with this tire up here, and by the time I got home, it was almost flat. And was this tire
that
back here?
one in the back is the
And
one that
had,
would
I
have
mean,
blown.
it was a big, it was big. He says, that tire is ready to blow. And I went,
Wow.
thank you, God.
Yes. Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, I sure did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. You left Reliance and you went immediately to the Housing Authority?
On Monday. I left
Wow.
there on
How'd you
Friday.
get a job that quickly?
I knew somebody.
You knew somebody. Okay.
This is all political, you know.
Okay. It sounds like, though, that, you know, I think that maybe in some way God had you put you in that position.
I had a very dear friend who was a Christian, and she said to me, she said, Ruth, it's time for you to move on.
Yeah.
She said, you need to share what you have with somebody else.
Yeah.
But boy, I'm telling you, when I walked in there, I thought, oh my gosh.
Culture shock, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Wow. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I tell you what, I really believe that I've had 3 near-death experiences.
Is that right? Well, go ahead and share it, if you don't mind.
No. In 2005,
Okay.
I had some minor surgery, and I got a viral thrush in my throat, and I couldn't swallow. And I kept telling the nurse I can't swallow. They were going to send me home that afternoon. And Ron and Pat were there, and my son and daughter-in-law, and they followed her out, and they said to her, if my mother said she can't swallow, she can't swallow. So they called my doctor, who was in Chicago, going there for some sort of a meeting or something, and then so he said, we'll call this ear, nose, and throat person. Well, he was there just immediately. He looked at my throat, and he said, you need to be in ICU immediately. And they put me in ICU, and I saw light all the way around here, and I saw angels over in this corner.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it wasn't your time.
God wasn't finished with me yet.
No, I guess not.
And then when I had that, in 2011, I had that strange disease, and 4 doctors at the Cleveland Clinic,
I remember that.
yes, said it was a miracle. They never found out what it was.
Yeah.
And I sat right over there, and I said, I'm not going to see my kids anymore, God. I know, and that's okay. And I just started praying, and all of a sudden I just felt such peace flow through me. And the next morning I got up, and I said, I think I can eat a tablespoon of cereal this morning. And then when I had the stroke, and maybe this is my imagination, but Jesus walked around my bed.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I'm telling you, I saw it.
Wow. That's amazing.
Well,
I believe you. That's
I mean,
pretty amazing.
and I don't know. Like I said, was I imagining all these things? But I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Well, God works in mysterious ways. Who knows?
Yep.
There will be some who will doubt, but
Yeah. So,
just believe. Right?
yeah, that's right. That's
Absolutely.
right. So
Okay. Well, as I was starting to say there, I do believe, though, that Ashtabula could possibly see a turnaround someday.
What a miracle
and it's
it would be.
not, yes, you're exactly right. It would not be by anything that any single person or group of people do.
No.
It'll be the working of God working through people that he will put in place in
believe
Ashtabula. And I believe he's already raising some of them up right now, and they probably might even be watching, and they know who they are.
I hope so.
And they just don't know what to do yet. But God is putting people in place to know what to do when it comes. And we're going to see a great turnaround like we're seeing in Belair. Still got a long ways to go in Belair, but we'll see it there. We'll see it here. We're going to see it everywhere.
There's one more story I'd like to tell.
Absolutely.
I had this young man, Tim Moore, and he's a young black man. He'd gone to Kent. He used to go to the Y, and just the nicest guy. Well, he kind of got into some trouble, and he came down to Bonnywood, and he had a wife down there, and he was always down there, and I kept writing him notes and give him copies to the police that I didn't want him on the property. Well, he got sent away.
Okay.
And one day I had a young man from Cleveland, from the ghetto of Cleveland. He came out here at the Center to Get Clean. I just had a mental block.
Glen Bay?
No, it's not Glen Bay. It's the one here in Ashtabula.
I'm not sure.
But it doesn't matter. Anyway, he got clean. He came to us for an apartment, and we gave him an apartment. And he just was the nicest guy. And he kept his apartment like it could have been a model. But anyway, he was getting ready to move. He was getting married, and I went down to wish him well. And when I got there, Tim was there, and there was another young man there. And Tim said something about me remembering him, and I said, well, I sure remember your face. He says, Tim Moore, and I went,
Yeah.
he said, I'm clean, I'm clean.
Oh,
he
very
says,
good.
He says, I owe you an apology. He said, I crawled out of more windows running from you than you'll ever know. And he
That's
now is working with the youth.
Is he?
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's a great story.
Yeah, that's a
All
great
right.
story.
So it sounds like you've had an impact on quite a few people's lives. In all
Well,
your time.
you don't know it at the time. Again,
Yeah.
you don't know it at the time, but I would like to think I have. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot from these people too.
Oh, yeah.
I learned a lot.
Sure. I'm sure you did.
Yep, I sure did, and that was exactly where I needed to be.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly where I needed to be.
Absolutely. God's amazing.
Yeah, that's
Puts
for
people
sure.
in the right places at the right time.
It sure does. Sure does. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for meeting me at the table. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope that everybody out there enjoyed this interview with you.
Well, thank you.
And I wish you the best. And this will air on Wednesday night, July 3rd
Okay.
at 7 p.m. if you want to watch it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for
everybody.
asking me.
Absolutely. Wasn't that an amazing interview with a very strong, courageous woman? To so boldly step out into her community, to face danger every day, not knowing if she was going to be shot, not knowing if she would be harmed, she boldly stood up to the enemy in a sense. Not that the people themselves were the enemy, but those influencing those people were the enemy. And she did it knowing that God was with her every step of the way. She had courage, she had strength, she had boldness that came from God. Yeah, many will say she was just doing her job, but she did her job knowing that God was protecting her every step of the way. Hats off to you, Ruth Davis Rogers. Thank you for taking time to sit with me at the table. I'd now like to take a moment to draw some parallels between Ashtabula, Ohio, and here in Bellaire, Ohio. Ashtabula is up on Lake Erie in the very top corner of Ohio, as far northeast as you can go. Conneaut is right there as well, but it's up in that area, Ashtabula County, and we're talking about the city of Ashtabula. They have a drug problem. They have industry that has left. They have people that have left, a declining population, very run down, very socioeconomically deprived area, similar to Bellaire. But just like Bellaire, there are people who have lived there their whole lives who still believe in Ashtabula, just like people live here still believe in Bellaire. If we could take every person who lives here in Bellaire and find out if they are doing good or doing harm, if they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, or if they're really trying to just have a normal life, we would find that the majority are doing good or trying to. The number of people who are doing harm, dealing in drugs, committing crimes, they are by far the minority. So we do have a problem. The minority is taking over the majority, but it doesn't have to be that way. God is stepping in, both in Bellaire and in Ashtabula, and trying to make a difference. And He can make a difference. We just have to believe, and we have to not give up. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching this, if you live in Bellaire, good things are happening. Look at the buildings that are being restored. Look at the people whose lives are changing. Good things are happening. Sure, we've lost a lot. The bank, the hospital, we've lost many people, but we still have a lot of potholes, but still, good things are happening. Just be patient. God is still in control. he's going to make a difference. Trust me, he's going to make a difference because he wants Belair for himself. I want to conclude with encouraging you to try to build a relationship with the Lord. He wants to have one with you. It's one thing to believe and say, if I died tonight, I'm going to heaven. That's one thing. But it's another thing completely to have a relationship with him, to be able to go to him like he's a friend, to say, God, here's what's on my mind. What can I do? And then to be able to hear him respond to you and tell you. No, you're not going to hear audible words like you're hearing my voice, but you'll hear those voices in your head. You'll have that gut feeling. You have people coming to you, telling you things. God speaks to us in many ways. And as we start to recognize that, and we start to ask God questions, and we start to get answers, that builds a relationship between you and him, a relationship that he wants to have with you. So take time, just like you would take time to build a relationship with your best friend, build a relationship with the Lord. It will make a difference in your life, and you'll thank yourself for doing it. So with that, I'd like to say, have a wonderful 4th of July. Thanks for joining me tonight at the table, and I'll see you again next week.